There is no doubt that the birthday book of convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Mandelson's message in that is excruciating. But wasn't all of this, which is, historical and which he regrets, wasn't all of this in the public domain? Everybody knew about it before Keir Starmer made him the British ambassador to Washington. So is it really Peter Mandelson who's under pressure, or is it the Prime Minister?
Look, we knew he'd been mates with Epstein. We knew he'd stayed with Epstein, but I don't think we knew quite the extent of the gushing friendship, describing him as my best friend and referring affectionately to the interesting guests in the house when he's photographed with scantily clad young women. It looks appalling. The timing is terrible because the President's coming next week for an unprecedented second visit, and Peter Mandelson will be at the centre of all of it, masterminding everything. But we did know, but I don't think we knew the extent of it. And it's just cringe-making. The
birthday book was known about...
We hadn't seen it, though, had we?
No, it was published...
Seen the pictures.
Just point out, so it was published on Monday night by the US House Oversight Committee, which is investigating Jeffrey Epstein's network of friends. It is a 238-page album of messages compiled for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, which is back in 2003. So this was a book where messages from friends were collected...
The great and the good.
...in this huge tome, 238 pages. The Mail says today that, firstly point out there's no suggestion that Lord Mandelson was aware of any of Epstein's crimes. The birthday greeting was penned 5 years before Epstein's conviction in 2008 for soliciting underage sex. But the photographs are Lord Mandelson's holiday snaps, and these these messages, you would spend many hours just waiting for him to turn up. Wherever he is in the world, he remains my best pal. And on the last page, he writes, "Happy birthday, Jeffrey, we love you."
Yeah, pass the stick
back.
By
the way, I don't think you can miss out Yum Yum.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it's not... The Prime Minister is under pressure. So is the new Foreign Secretary, who is Peter Mandelson's line manager.
And Yvette Cooper.
Yeah, and our man in Washington himself, because we knew some of it, we didn't know all of it, and then you see it.
Do we know all of it yet?
No. Mandelson swore at the Financial Times, used language we can't use any time on TV when they began asking about it.
The only quote I have from him in that interview, I don't know if it's the same interview with the Financial Times, but the quote I have is, "I regret ever meeting him or being introduced to him."
That is part of it, but he also used what we would call industrial language. Now, I'm not saying he has to resign, but there are questions to be answered. What may save him is he's built up a relationship with the Trump lot, although Trump calls him Sneaky Pete. He's not entirely enamoured.
Trump also in the birthday book.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
Although
he denies that's a message
and that
he
may
wrote.
save our man in Washington. That Trump's not going to kick off about it because Trump himself has questions he always brushes aside. But
he's currently suing the Wall Street Journal, isn't he? Because,
for about £1 billion.
Allegation that this was a message and a drawing penned by
over a picture, a sort of drawing of a...
We also can't show it at this time in the morning.
A part-naked woman with an exchange with Epstein in it, and then his signature's written at the bottom in such a way that you would suggest it is...
lurid.
Yes. Yeah, it's meant to represent part of the body.
But there are serious questions that face Peter Mandelson again he has flatly refused to say whether he ever stayed at any of Epstein's many homes around the world after his conviction for trafficking underage girls. And did he ever... lobby for Epstein's huge business interests when he was perhaps EU Trade Commissioner?
Right, right. Take those 2 points. One is he's got to answer the question after Epstein was convicted of soliciting a minor, a paedophile. Did you stay in his New York place or go to his island? Yes or no?
Because we know Prince Andrew did.
Exactly.
We do.
If he did,
photographs of
if he did, he has to go. That's quite clear because you would know... What he was all about. No ignorance.
Surely number 10 would have nailed him on that question before they gave him the job, because if it does come out now, he's in serious trouble.
Ask him. Did you not? If he won't answer it, he has to go too. But if he did, he has to go. So then it's quite clear who he was dealing with.
Yeah. So 2 lines from the Telegraph last night. Tories demanded an investigation into Lord Mandelson's close friendship and any commercial dealings with Epstein. And secondly, victims of Jeffrey Epstein have demanded Lord Mandelson be sacked as ambassador to the US and question Sir Keir Starmer's
Which brings us to the second part. When he was business secretary in the UK, effectively Gordon Brown's deputy prime minister, first minister
after he was trade commissioner, that's right.
If he was intervening in commercial decisions with Esptein, one, I find that distasteful, given Epstein's conviction and jailing in the US. But 2, was there any influence? Did he do anything that he shouldn't have done because he was dealing with a pal?
Which is the allegation in the Telegraph. The Telegraph front page is Jeffrey Epstein brokered a deal with Lord Mandelson over the sale of a UK taxpayer-owned banking business after he had been convicted of child sex offences, emails have revealed. And these are emails involving JP Morgan, Jess Staley, who, close friend of Epstein, was very senior in JP Morgan at the time, and Peter Mandelson as business secretary over this RBS joint venture with Sempra Energy. Now, it'll have to be looked at now.
Yeah. Was it open and above board or not? Peter Mandelson, I have to say about Peter Mandelson, we've known him for donkey's years. Peter Mandelson is like Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and his wings melted. He's always been drawn to very, very wealthy...
But he will be doing a very, very good job in a very difficult circumstances, being the British ambassador in Washington and getting in with the Trump circle. I think everybody says that he's doing that really, really well. So Keir Starmer does not want to lose Peter Mandelson.
I wrote a piece in the Mail, actually, in praise of why he would be suited for this job, because he's got, can I use the word, serpentine qualities. He is a man who is brilliant at networking, he's clever, he's cunning, all the skills you need in a diplomat.
Yeah, he is an effective operator.
He is.
Unquestionably. And he was a very good business secretary at the end of the Labour government. I think it was 2008 to 10. And he brought up... we had the global financial collapse. He brought a very good scheme to save the car industry. But we mustn't forget he lost his job twice when he was a minister. First time over an undisclosed £373,000 loan from a fellow minister, the second time over allegations he helped get some very wealthy British Indians passports.
He says he was subsequently later cleared.
Nevertheless, he lost his job. He was forced to resign by downstream.
JP Morgan and Lord Mandelson both declined to comment in response to the Telegraph's allegations, but Lord Mandelson has previously said, I wish I'd never met him, and he said he regretted even more the hurt that Epstein caused to
the timing couldn't be worse, with the president the president's entourage coming next week.
It's probably a bonding moment with the US president. I'm not sure that's entirely good, but they can both say they've been caught up in the Epstein net, and isn't it awful? And they'll both nod.
The Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey is going to boycott the banquet next week over Gaza, of course. We asked Nicola Sturgeon yesterday if the Scottish First Minister should do the same thing. She said that they should use it as an opportunity to, tackle
you get a
the
chance
US
to speak to the president
over Gaza.
No, you won't. Look, I mean, they'd miss a waiter or a footman more than they'll miss Ed Davey, in truth, because there will just be so many people in that. No, I've got a lot of time for him. I think he's turned round the fortunes of the Lib Dems. I'm quite impressed.
There will be, at a state banquet, there will be a receiving line.
There will be.
But I think you'd probably have 10 seconds with the president.
But
you could use that 10 seconds very effectively if that's your moment with the most powerful man in the world.
There'll be no handshake.
It's on the issue of Gaza and the famine and the failure of the US to put any effective pressure on Israel, given the US arms, effectively arms. And I get it. There would be... There's a famine, people are dying, they're being starved to death in Gaza, and then you're sitting at a big sumptuous banquet where you've got to stand up and toast and applaud the US president. No, I've got respect for Ed Davey actually not going, but let's be honest, he won't be missed. But, I mean, that's at the same time.
But you're absolutely right. The optics of that are, are ones that you may take the opportunity to avoid, as Ed Davey has, or take advantage of.
Yeah.
What about the fact that we've had this attack on Qatar, trying to take out the Hamas leadership? Trump's words on it, he's not thrilled.
It's very important to say, I mean, if you're the Lib Dem leader, you can avoid it. Because, to be honest, nobody really minds whether Ed Davey goes to the banquet or not. But if you're the British Prime Minister and he is the elected president of the United States, the elected president, and, as you say, you're trying to get peace in the Middle East, I mean, the one thing you can't do if you're the British government is boycott the state banquet with Donald Trump. For the reasons you said, you have to deal with him. And this morning, of all days, with this attack.
Absolutely. So what's going to be said?
But we could have this lavish banquet next week at Windsor Castle on the day some terrible thing could be happening in Gaza. Yeah. Many people are still questioning why Starmer gave him the state visit in the first place. It's not the King's invitation.
Yeah, but you know why he gave him the state back.
But shouldn't you have got more out of him?
The potential for Donald Trump to do massive damage to the British economy, the European economy, the world economy, and to peace in the world
to Ukraine,
is so great.
As well as Gaza.
The Ukraine. If the price of trying to get a conversation and some influence is a banquet with a king, you have the banquet.
Right.
Yeah, of course you have the banquet. But you now have the President of America looking like he's not forewarned of this attack on Doha. I mean, he might have been notified. Was he consulted?
I don't think he was.
Was he backing it? Says he wasn't thrilled about it. And we have Starmer meeting the Israeli president today. In Downing Street, is it?
Yep.
Or in London, anyway, the note I have.
And dozens of Labour MPs have written saying he shouldn't even be allowed in the country.
He should meet Isaac Herzog,
Yeah,
the head of state of Israel. It's the tone of the meeting and what is said that matters. But you have to have dialogue. Look, if going off to Israel to meet Benjamin Netanyahu or going to Moscow to meet Vladimir Putin was going to gain anything, then it is worth doing. But Israel is acting now like a rogue state. It's attacked another country here, and it's attempted to kill the people who, however distasteful they are, however much you might oppose them, have a key to trying to get a peace deal. There's two sides in this, two direct sides. And Israel is trying to take out the leadership of the other side. If you want the hostages free, you want all this to end, you have to do a deal. Most of the hostages have been freed by deals. Very few have been rescued. In fact, Israel has killed some itself inadvertently because it kind of just seems to shoot on sight.
But President Herzog is not like President Trump or President Macron. His political position is different.
Yes.
His politics is the other side from Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Herzog politically will be deeply worried about what's happening in Gaza and happening in Israel. And if you want to have an ally to try and influence Israel to a better place at a time when, as you say, the government is going rogue, actually you want to meet President Herzog because he is going to be on your side.
No, you have to. It's always easy. Don't meet anybody, boycott everybody. And I have time for what Ed Davey is doing, but he's in a very different position. If you're the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, the Home Secretary, whoever, you want to meet these people because you need a dialogue, you need to talk.
Biggest issue, as I say every morning, to not disrespecting any of the other huge issues that voters are concerned about. But I would say the biggest issue every single day for people is the cost of living. We have the budget at the end of November, and we have this extraordinary event, which is horse racing staging its first ever strike today. Racecourse is closed, owners, trainers and jockeys refusing to race for scheduled meetings at Lingfield Park, Carlisle, Uttoxeter and Kempton Park scrapped. First time the sport has voluntarily refused to race in modern history because of speculation over a betting tax rise. Now, the speculation of the budget is having such a massive impact on the economy. And we don't even know what Rachel Reeves is going to do over betting taxes.
Susanna, they did this last year. The budget was in November, and it was the longest gap, I think, between a new government and a general election and a budget ever. Huge speculation filled the vacuum. and it's going to happen all over again because she's chosen to go as late as possible, November the 26th.
Hang on. If the budget in the old days used to be in March, if we went back to March, you'd have even longer speculation.
You'd have even
longer speculation. You always get it's about 2 weeks later than was anticipated.
Well, that's late.
To have a budget in November is sensible planning because if the changes are going to come in the April, you can deal with them a lot easier and better than bringing it in March and then you've got no time. Now, there's a political cost to that, but I can see in horse racing, and of course, it's a great sport. I like to bet myself. I like to go to the races, and I can see why they want to fend off any extra taxes. And they say there's a levy now that on the betting companies pay on a voluntary level that goes into. In fact, Charlotte probably knows it all better than I do. that goes into the industry. I can see why it's defending itself. I do just smile because there are the bus strikes around the country. There's a tube strike in London. And there, everybody has to be balloted legally, and you have to give 2 weeks' notice. But they can have the owners of the courses and so on, they can just declare their own strike whenever they like.
So the proposal is, again, speculation, to hike racing duty tax from 15% to 21%, because there is an idea that the Treasury wants to bring existing online betting duties into one single-rate tax band, which would mean aligning the 15% tax rate paid by bookmakers on racing with that of online games of chance, which is currently 21%, which is quite a hike. Meanwhile, the boss...
They said they're going to align. What they don't know is when they align 3 rates into the one, do they align the lower ones up to the top one, which is a tax rise, or do they align the top one down to the bottom, which costs the money? And the problem is Rachel Reeves needs the money at the moment.
Yeah,
so that is why people expect it to go up.
I think we can bet on it going up here.
That's a safe bet
on this.
Meanwhile, so business leaders concerned about the prospect of tax hikes and whether those tax hikes, like the national insurance rise in the last budget, will land on business. Lord Rose, former chairman of Marks and Spencer and Asda, says Britain is on the edge of a crisis. The boss of the Confederation of British Industry, CBI, said the Chancellor should tear up the manifesto pledge, which was that she would not raise taxes on working people. And the head of the CBI says the time for tinkering is over. Any prospect, do you think, that the Chancellor could raise income tax or national insurance on working people as opposed to employers who apparently aren't working?
If I was making the choice, I think I'd prefer the tax to go up on Lord Rose himself, the boss of Asda, rather than Asda's customers. But Labour backed itself into a corner in the election, in that manifesto, saying no rises in the rates of income tax, VAT, and employees' national
They didn't say that.
Insurance.
They said national insurance.
They
never said employees.
Because they said on working people. I can produce the press releases from the Conservatives at the time in the election saying it's only on employees. They haven't said employers.
Can we just go...
They picked it up.
People who employ people are working people.
I think that at the time, they talked about national insurance in the manifesto. The manifesto does not say employees.
It says working people, but the Conservatives picked it up.
The Office of Budget Responsibility says 70% of the rise in employers' national insurance will be paid by working people. It actually gets shifted in the wage packet from the employers.
There was a conspiracy of silence with both Labour and the Conservatives, in a sense, over their real plans and how you're going to deal with the economy and the big black hole which existed. But the Conservatives picked up at the time.
To go back to... I don't think they can raise income tax and national insurance. I think they're going to go...
Not even on the top rate?
They'll call it a wealth tax.
I don't think...
and it'll raise very little, and it'll be very problematic.
But you can't run the economy that way, because what we don't know yet, we don't know what the budget forecasts are going to be. We don't know what the state of the global economy and interest rates is going to be around the world. We don't know the scale of the fiscal gap. And if, in the end, the fiscal gap is very big, and people are saying it could be 20, 30, 40 billion pounds...
The black hole.
Either the Chancellor says, I'm going to ditch all of my fiscal rules which bind me into getting the borrowing coming down, or she has to raise the taxes. And the reality is raising 20, 30, 40 billion pounds while sticking with that manifesto is very, very hard indeed, which is why we've got all this speculation about huge rises in tax here or tax there. So to say she can't do it,
Politically,
what else
very
could she
difficult.
do?
Politically, very difficult.
It is very difficult.
It would be a catastrophe politically for Labour.
Parties, when they get in government, have manifestos and they break promises or they do things that weren't in the manifesto. She stitched herself into a financial straitjacket. She needs to get out of it, but it is going to be very difficult to do.
She's got two financial straitjackets. She's got financial straitjacket one, I will get the debt coming down and meet my fiscal rules I've imposed on myself, and straitjacket two, I'm not going to raise taxes on working people.
No,
and to reconcile both of those, I mean, wearing two straitjackets is.
But there are other ways.
One.
Wealth tax on over 10 million. You could reduce pension. Reduce pension tax relief for people who are the highest earners, who take most of that tax relief. Not for ordinary workers.
But I mean,
but tax it out. Doesn't
get you to 30 billion.
There's no single solution.
We've just found the Labour manifesto.
Yeah, it talks about workers.
Page 21. We will ensure taxes on working people are kept as low as possible. Labour will not increase taxes on working people, which is why we will not increase national insurance, the basic, higher or additional rates of income tax or VAT. Yeah. We will not increase taxes on working people, which is why we will not increase national insurance.
It doesn't say employees' national insurance.
No, it says national insurance.
That's right.
A broken promise.
We know the incidence of taxation means if you raise the employers end up bearing a portion of that burden.
Not only a broken promise, but insulting as well. To say that employers are not working people, insulting to them.
I saw the like the Conservatives did. How the T&Cs would apply on that, just as I did before the 2001 general election.
When Labour, that's what people vote on.
When Labour,
and I've kept it.
When Labour didn't rule out a national insurance increase to fund the NHS, which is what she's actually done. The 25 billion she's raised from national insurance on employers has gone into the NHS. In 2001,
we did it employees and employers.
Can I ask?
And I think that's actually better.
Can I ask about Prince Harry being very generous to this charity in Nottingham? £1 million. Is that an act of selfless generosity or is it a cynical PR move to improve his public image? And the reason people are asking is because one particular royal expert has said it's all about trying to change his public image here. Of course, big donations can be made privately, they can be made anonymously. There is a reason that Prince Harry presumably wanted people to know.
He's on a charm offensive. Exactly what he's doing. He's on a charm offensive. I hope he sees his father this week. I think it'd be very nice. His father is very sick. He's got cancer. We don't know how sick he is. I really hope he sees him. But this is no doubt about it. This is Prince Harry on a charm offensive, and it's extraordinary to see him at one event.
A charm offensive, doesn't he?
He does.
Very unpopular. He's very unpopular
because he's monetised his attacks on the royal family for the last 2 years.
If this is a charm offensive, let's have more of the charm and less of the offensiveness. Look, it's a good thing, and of course, I prefer people to give to charity as. Millions of people do privately, and people on lower incomes give a higher proportion of their money to charity than those who are very wealthy. And at least he hasn't asked for his name to be put on a wing of an art gallery or a hospital or whatever. But like, he's given £1 million. Let's just celebrate. And yeah, he is on a charm offensive. But is that a bad thing?
If he's giving money to charity,
he did make a lot of money out of Spare, didn't he? Which slagged off his family.
And but he also gave a donation, didn't he? To Centre Barley, which was his former charity. Yeah. And then, of course, there was a big falling out.
If we're going to slag him off for all those who slag him off, they're going to slag him off for having the Invictus Games for injured and disabled service people.
Charity, very noble charity.
Yeah, exactly. So you could say, "Ooh, he's on a charm offensive there, isn't he?" Ooh.
But he's
not, is it? It's a good thing.
But that's the important thing. In the end, normally with these things, if you want to have a PR impact, simply the giving of money doesn't really do the job for you. What makes the difference is what you say, the values you express, the change you drive. I think the Invictus Games has far more impact than £1 million.
I think that's true.